Holman, it's only 2 weeks from the SEMA show in Las Vegas, and I'm already tired. I mean, I'm tired in advance because I just jotted down some names. Chris at Expel, Joe Z, Catskin, Justin at EGR, Jason at CompuStar, Matt Beenan at Built Right, Mark at AMSOIL. This is about 1/10 of the list that you and I are going to have to check off as we do interviews down the hallways.
Well, and then I've got the SEMA Truck and Off-Road Alliance, the TORA panel that I'm hosting. I think that's on Tuesday, and I know a lot of our podcast listeners love to come to the panels because you guys always come up to me after the show and go, "Hey, I saw you were doing a panel. I didn't want to miss it."
No. They come to you and they say, "Hey, aren't you Lightning?"
No, never once. No, that happened to you in the elevator once.
It did, yeah.
They asked you if,
I love your show, Holman.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, damn.
Love that story. So the TORA SEMA show education series, and then we're going to be talking about industry trends and owning your own business and some of the wins and things to keep in mind going forward. It should be a really good panel. That is going to be at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So hopefully you'll come to that. And then I'm doing some judging for TMI again, and then
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Don't leave Tuesday yet of the SEMA show. That's day number 1 of the SEMA show coming up here. It's going to start great, right? You got all the tour stuff in the morning, but then at night, are we going to the Catskin party at the Penthouse on our hotel?
I haven't been invited.
Or yes, you have. I'm inviting you right now.
Am I your plus one?
I got a ticket for you. Well, it's not a ticket. It's a lanyard and a huge credential, like a crazy piece of plexiglass. They always do something crazy.
Nice.
It's always got cow print on it. So I just got that yesterday in the mail. I'm wondering, do we go there and watch the election returns, or do we sit in the hotel room, or do we go down to the bar?
I'm just gonna have a handle of whiskey, and I'm just gonna throw on news on my hotel room TV. And it's either going to be cheering or it's not.
But do we do it with everyone at the Catskin party? Because it's around the same time.
We'll see. Well, I'll feel it out as we get closer.
I mean, do we share the depression with everyone or the joy?
I was at SEMA several elections ago when the outcome was not what the industry wanted. And I have never seen more glum, sad people in my life. And it was depressing. And everybody just started drinking at the bar. And there was no energy. I've never been to SEMA at a bar where it was dead quiet and it was all murmurs and no energy. And I want a redo of that.
Do the music in the background of the speakers stop and the slot machines stop?
No. The noise changed from happiness of slot machines ringing out to sad trombones. So imagine that sound on repeat for hours.
Yeah. No, I'd rather not.
Very depressing. So that's my last memory of an election at SEMA. And I don't want to do. I want to have at least my last SEMA memory. If this is my last year,
why would this be your last SEMA?
It wouldn't be. But I just if something happened, I just don't want it. I'd rather have my last election thought be joy and elation. Would be great. Would be great. So we'll see. So we got that going on, and then TORA has basically a featured vehicle showcase. So I think we're going to be interviewing some of the builders there. That's outside.
As if, last year, there weren't enough concerts. I think Mike Spagnola and SEMA have split it up now. There's a concert at the beginning of the week, then there's concerts at the end of the week, and we're going to have to get them on the show to, explain. Yeah, we're going to need to get, a Venn diagram to find out, which band is playing where and when.
No Venn diagrams allowed on the show.
No? Okay, all right. So, another question for you before we start the show. Are you still exhausted from yesterday? Yesterday, I had you host the SEMA Friends and Family open house.
So I was told that I would need to be there at a certain time to MC, and I was like, what? And then I said,
you didn't think you could make it, and I didn't think you could make it, but you did.
So I was coaching girls softball, and so I purposely, when I had the schedule moved up, I had it moved to the earliest time slot. And so basically, my wife and I took separate cars. The game ended. I'm like, all right, peace out, girls. And I had all the parents clean up and drag. My dad helped drag the field, put the bases away. I'm out of there. My wife supervised, and we're in a different car. I came home. I changed. I took the 45-minute trip up to Banks. I believe you wanted me there at 11, and I believe I rolled in at 11:07.
You did. It was great. So, and I saved you the spot in front of Gale's office on the grass.
Perfect spot, yeah. So I made it through, and it was funny because I pulled up, and the street's cordoned off with cones. And one dude looks at me, he's like, yeah, you can't park here. And I'm like, yeah, I can. He's like, no, this is closed. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to park here.
And that's about the time I radioed into Eric. And that's Sean Holman, let him in. Down, come here.
And then 5 people were all of a sudden, we're all arms. I'm like, yeah, that's right, sucker. I don't know who the new guy was who didn't know. But
He's a good guy. Yeah,
I'm sure
he just didn't know.
Yeah, so anyway, got there. It was actually pretty fun. So it went from 11 to just before 3. crazy raffle. How did you get all those prizes and stuff?
Took some legwork.
Dude, there was an amazing, and then you had speakers all over this large industrial area.
That was
park,
that was a crazy one. And then a lot of people came up to me, and Liz, Gale's daughter, and said, everyone complimented us on the audio. Like, what did you do that was different here? I had speakers
everywhere
on a city block, and it was kind of like a cross. It made a T because our buildings go different ways.
If you've never been to Banks, basically it's a cul-de-sac in an industrial park. And it's really long. It's not a short one. It's probably like maybe an eighth or a fifth of a mile long. And there's lots of concrete style industrial buildings and all the little alleyways and parking lots that go with this. And all these buildings make up the Banks campus all on this one street, actually a couple streets. People were walking. There are food trucks in every corner and beer in this corner and barbecue over here and pizza over here. And you almost had to walk the whole campus because you had all the buildings open for people to go inside and see what's going on.
Yeah, we had displays, dynos running, on the whole thing.
Yeah, so you had to walk the whole campus to find all the food. So it was actually a great way of getting people to meander and wander around. But there were contests, and you had me doing interviews, which we got a bunch of those interviews for the show. And yeah, it was fun. So then after that, it ended around 3 or so. I hung out for a little while, and they realized I had to get home. So rushed home, and then a friend of ours, Chris Bolger over at Bilstein, had called me and said, "Hey, do you like Van Morrison?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "But we know who really does is my daughter." He's like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "I got 2 tickets. You want to go to L.A.?"
Wait, you were emceeing all day, and then you went to a concert at night?
In downtown L.A.
How are you alive right now?
Well, then this morning I had to get up early, too. So, I'm on fumes right now.
I mean, I feel like ass right now, but I'm rallying because I want to do the show.
Yeah, I'm rallying.
Woo!
Yeah, it was crazy. So it's been busy. And then right before you came, I came back from lunch at Oktoberfest where I had a bunch of pretzels and beer.
You were boozing?
Yeah, so that's why I have this large thing of water right here because I got to hydrate.
Sure, it's water.
It'll get me through this, I hope.
Well, it's the Truck Show Podcast. My name is Lightning, and he is Holman, and it's going to be a good one. We've got audio from the Banks Friends and Family Day.
And we're not going to tell you, but the last piece of audio is going to be a treat.
Hold on. Maybe.
No, don't do it.
Really?
Don't do it.
No, just this. Just this.
No. Stop. No.
Just that.
Don't ruin the surprise. You're like my wife. Oh, guess what I got you for your birthday? No, I don't want to. But stop telling me.
That was it. I'm done. Move on.
Listen, stay to the end of the show. We've got a little nugget of sweetness for you.
Mm-hmm. A nugget of sweetness.
Yeah, a nugget of sweetness.
Does it come wrapped up both ends twisty?
There's no cellophane on it.
It's
or
not like a
weird
toffee
like
or something that your grandfather tries to give you. Sean, it's a toffee.
No,
Who eats toffees, by the way?
Grandma's purse. What were those?
Grandma's purse eats toffees?
What was the name of those? The little butterscotch or toffee?
Butterscotch toffees.
No,
I know they have a name.
There's a name.
Dear God, I don't know.
She had like a handful in her purse, and she'd always dig around and pull
what's
it
up?
out.
Why do old people? They're the only ones that eat hard candies. Like hard
that's
candies.
not true.
Hard candies are for the devil.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind a good hard candy.
Satan loves hard candies.
No.
Yeah.
All right, well, before we get started with all this great, stuff from Banks, how about that? Simple?
Sure.
Stuff.
I don't
fill you with stuff.
I don't think they're going to stick around for stuff. Now,
we got stories. We've got
Holman's
audio.
LokJaw
We stop it. What's wrong with you?
I want to give it away like your wife.
Oh. That's unfortunate. That was really unfortunate phrasing on your part. Well, that's a great way to get into our presenting sponsor, Nissan, who has been with the show since the beginning. If you're looking for a new midsize truck, head on down to your local Nissan dealership where you can check out the new 2025 Nissan Frontier.
Wait, what? 25?
25. Should be hitting dealerships like any day now.
Okay.
Pretty excited about it.
I was unaware.
We've talked about it on the show.
That it was on dealer lots now.
Well, if it's not there yet, it should be soon because that is what's on the website, nissanusa.com. So you can build and price your 2025 Nissan Frontier. And the Pro 4X is awesome. Has those killer new wheels. That front fascia, it's got the 3 slots in it. Kind of give that aggressive freshening that kind of harkens back to the old hard body. And the best part is the big screen and the updated interior. And now a tilt and telescoping steering wheel. If you're a current Frontier owner, you will understand how awesome that thing is, tilt and telescoping.
I don't think they're going to turn theirs in favor of a new one just because it has that, but they might be tempted.
I saw a guy when I had posted, might have been on my own page, where I posted pictures of the new Frontier, and I said, this is a really great upgrade, a really nice refresh. Here's all the stuff. And the dude's like, no, I can't believe it. I love my 23, and that's like every single thing that I wanted different. And so I'm like, well, now you got to buy a 25. If you have a 22, 23, 24 Nissan Frontier,
Resale's great, right?
Well, and you probably don't have a lot of miles on it, so you're saving it for all those people who couldn't afford it new. Go treat yourself to a 25. Take advantage of that. NissanUSA.com or head on down to your local dealer. I will be driving one soon, and I cannot wait because I love that truck.
All right, and you were talking to some of the guys. I don't want to spoil this content. I've spoiled enough already.
I was going to say, you're already a spoiler.
But I'm saying, a couple of the guys that you talked to on stage at the event were talking about how excited they were over the Banks iDash. So I'm going to go with the iDash real quick to set it up. So the Banks iDash is a 52-millimeter digital gauge. And there's a lot of other gauges out on the market. You can go, you can go to Amazon and get a dongle. You can go to O'Reilly's, AutoZone, whatever, and you can get yourself a diagnostic gauge that plugs into your OBD port and pulls up on your phone. But there is so much that those are missing in comparison to the Banks iDash. Gale Banks has worked literally years coming up with parameters that cannot be displayed on any other gauge. These are patented parameters that you will be able to take advantage of. For example, I was working with a guy about 2 weeks ago. He's an engine builder, and he was having some issues. He was going through different turbo iterations, compressor size, turbine size, things like that, and I shipped him an iDash, and he's like, why did I not have this years ago? He was finding out some efficiencies with the compressor afterwards, all sorts of amazing things. So you can be just a general schmo like Holman and I. You just want to see exhaust gas temperature. You want to see boost. You want to see voltage, speed, RPMs, all these things. Or if you're an actual engine builder or tuner, get yourself a Banks iDash. Head over to bankspower.com to find yours.
All right, and you guys know we're big fans of AMSOIL. We use it in all of our vehicles. In fact, I used some of the car care products this weekend.
Did you use a ceramic spray?
I did, getting the Jeep ready to be at the Banks Friends and Family open house, which was cool. It's funny. A buddy of mine was asking me about AMSOIL, and he's like, hey, do they make blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yeah, let me send you the link. So I went to AMSOIL.com, and I went to the drop-down menu, and I was trying to find a particular product for him, and I'm like, oh, yeah, motor oil. And then it's like, oh, wait, that's right. Gasoline, diesel, European, high mileage, hybrid, racing, high zinc, natural gas, two-stroke, power, four-stroke, two-stroke power equipment, four-stroke power equipment. And then I'm like, well, that's a lot for motor oil, right? Like, they have a lot of different things. So I'm like, well, now I'm just going to have fun with the drop-down menu. So I went to lubricants and protectants, and I'm like, transmission fluid, fuel additive, filters, gear oil, cleaners and protectants, steering, brakes, suspension fluid, bearing, chassis grease, antifreeze, coolant, hydraulic oil, firearm lubricant. Yeah, I use that. And cleaners, they're great. Compressor oil, bar and chain oil. So then I'm like, well, they can't really have more than that, right? And I'm like, oh, I forgot about the car care and detailing products. And they've, by the way, you're right. Okay, we've talked about the window glass cleaner, and I have a competing product that's a spray bottle, and it's just liquidy all over, and it's hard to get it so it doesn't smear. When you hit it with the AMSOIL, it does the foam, and the foam eats away at whatever that kind of like milky like film inside, and it just evaporates immediately. And
the streaks are bad because when you're in the shade, you can't see the streaks. As soon as you get in the sun, you're like,
oh, I missed that spot.
What?
Yeah, so I love that stuff. They have the new high foam car shampoo, the interior detailer, the ceramic spray. The point is, you can get all this stuff, and also they make filters, and they have oil change kits for popular trucks. So head over to AMSOIL.com. You can get anything you need as far as a fluid, a lubricant, synthetics, AMSOIL, first in synthetics, great product, AMSOIL.com.
All right, and our friends over at EGR are having a huge sale that you need to know about, and this is kind of weird because, like Rolex, EGR doesn't have sales very often. So when they do, you really need to take advantage of it. You're like, oh my God, I can get a Submariner on discount? Okay, you can do that with an EGR roll track. Now through December, you can get 30% off plus a rebate of $250 on all manual roll track bed covers. Listen again, 30% off and $250 rebate off a manual roll track bed cover. They probably have an application for your truck. Head over to EGRUSA.com to go shopping right now.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Whoa, whoa.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
That's us.
All right. What do you want to start with? 'Cause we got a list of interviews that you conducted on stage at the Banks Friends and Family event.
Let's start with the non-truck one, just because it was interesting. I looked up from the stage and I saw a Camaro ZL1, which are badass. And I was like,
Why did
what?
Lightning bring this here?
yeah. And then you're like, you got to interview the guy who owns that. And I was like, but I don't understand. There's no Banks product. Oh, iDash. So here's my first interview with Gabriel Griffin from Griffin Motorsports. All right, so you may be wondering why a Camaro ZL1 is here. You think, oh, there must be just scores of Banks products for that. But here's the beauty. Even if you don't own a turbocharged vehicle or a diesel truck or some of the things you might associate with Banks, what they do have that fits almost every car in the market with OBD2 is the Banks iDash, and you've become a massive proponent of iDash.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's a long list of reasons why. It's just an amazing gauge. I could talk for probably an hour on it. So ZL1s come supercharged. They're heavy cars, even though they come stock with 650 horsepower. Most everybody's like turning up the boost. You know, the superchargers make more heat, and the stock gauging, is really inadequate.
Very inadequate.
And there's not a lot of good aftermarket gauges. I mean,
one of the things people don't realize is that your ECU has all the parameters. The manufacturers actively don't want to give you the information. And a lot of the aftermarket gauges that you may have associated with in the past are a single mechanical gauge or a single digital gauge. The iDash revolutionized all that. I had a blower on my previous V6 Jeep. And for the same reasons, I wanted to know air density, I wanted to know airflow, I wanted to know the heat, I wanted to know the ambient air temp, the intake air temp, what the temp was going into the blower, what it was going outside of the blower before it hit the engine.
Yeah.
And you can dial all that. In fact, not only can you do that, you can see all of those parameters at the same time at once on the iDash.
Oh, yeah, which is why we do 2 with a ZZP gauge cluster. So now you've got 16 data points. So we take it a step further, just like what you were saying. Not only is like air intakes important, but the supercharger cooling system is really critical to these cars when you start turning up the boost. So we use your guys' 4-channel analog splitter with temperature and pressure sensors on the heat exchanger cooling system. So we get all that data.
So that's another thing. A lot of people think, oh, I've got an iDash, I have to have OBD2. But Banks makes a product that allows you to have analog mechanical gauges, and it'll read those as well. So it really covers everything. You can put them in vintage vehicles like we have over here on LokJaw and some of the other vehicles around, or you can plug it into your OBD2 port. And the beauty is we allow you to plug in multiple things to your OBD2 port. We don't take up that space. So if you want to add a pedal monster or some other OBD2 function, you could still do that while running the iDash.
And then I think my favorite feature now is the data logging. So anybody who runs these cars, a lot of guys are doing remote tuning. They have to have HP tuners. Great product, you've got your laptop set up and you're covering all those PIDs, but it's a little cumbersome when you're just driving around town and you want to double check some things that aren't showing on your iDash, or when you're going, wide open throttle, you can't check your oil pressure and your low side fuel pressure. So the data logging with one button is amazing.
Yeah, and there's a little SD card that goes in there. There's some other nice features that don't even have to do with data. So if you've got a manual transmission car, as my old supercharged Jeep was, you can set up your shift points as well, and the iDash in the corner of your eye will change bright yellow to let you know that it's time for a shift. And so for racing and things like that, it gives you that type of information as well, which is huge. And then on top of it, you can have 8 parameters at once, but you get multiple pages of that. And so you can kind of have if you have one, you can have your primary, and then your next page, one push of a button, 8 more as your secondary, and then if you've got a pedal monster or something like that, you can also control that from your iDash.
I'll add one more thing, that the peace of mind. These cars, as much as GM puts into them, a lot of them had issues with their oil pumps. So a lot of guys are watching their oil pressure religiously. So you can set the low alert. Hey, if pressure drops below 25 PSI or something, you can prevent a catastrophic engine failure, or oil pressure going too high. You can set an alert. Just a great product.
And on the data logger, you could also set it for what you hit on max and low as well, and then review them later. So if you didn't have it set up, you can see, I spiked here. Well, what's that all about, right?
Yeah, before you get into like the macro details, exactly.
So when you found the iDash, were you a Banks customer ever before? Is this a completely new product that you found and went, oh my gosh, I got to share this with the rest of the community?
I started as was just an enthusiast before I started my business, and I did the same research that everybody else does. What's the best looking gauge, and what gauge checks all the boxes for information that you need, and I couldn't find anything that worked better than Banks, not just in aesthetics, but with all of the other features that we just talked about.
Going back to aesthetics, you can actually change the color of the dash of the gauge itself to match whatever, and then it also has a ambient light sensor, so it will automatically dim it at night as well. So you don't have to wire it into your vintage vehicle. You can make it match the colors of whatever gauges you have on your new vehicle. You don't have to. You can set your kind of your high for day, and then it'll automatically adjust for night, which is a fantastic feature. And that flexibility, vintage, new, anything in between.
That's definitely one of the features I probably cared least about when I was buying it. But then when you get it, you're like, oh, shit, no, this is cool. Because you don't want a gauge that's like all these different colors compared. I mean, that's a really cool, subtle feature that I don't think you appreciate so you have one on your truck or your car.
So what has the response been within the Camaro community? I mean, I would imagine that Banks was kind of maybe if you owned a truck or you had a buddy who you knew that way, but to actually have a product directly for your vehicles that helps the ownership experience. I mean, what are you hearing from your customers?
I don't think the fact that Banks is a truck company matters. I think everybody's just looking for, real world improvement and what's, best for my car. So there's a lot of companies that have cross-platform products. I don't think that's an issue. I know people are always looking for more features. So, looking forward to the evolution of the iDash. But right now, it's just a great product and trying to get it in front of more ZL1 owners for sure.
And are you doing any other Camaros or specifically to ZL1?
My business focuses on ZL1s, but the products that we sell, like the iDash, and we sell them with like kits with the sensors, that could be for any late model LT4, so your Z06, your CTSV. But as a ZL1 owner and the products that we custom build and design, they're focused on ZL1s.
And where can people find you if they've got a ZL1 hidden away in their garage and need some data information?
Griffin Motorsports, griffin-motorsports.com.
Gabriel, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
You know what's nice about the Bakes event is saw some old friends there, like DMAX Ryno, who has been on the show before.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you see his lifted F-350?
Well, what's interesting is if you listen to this next piece, we talk about his affection for Duramaxes, or maybe not.
With me is DMAX Ryno. First of all, what makes you a expert on Duramax?
I'm definitely not an expert on Duramaxes,
but it's in your name.
It was my preferred platform. Don't tell anybody, but I currently own way more Fords than I do any GM trucks at the moment. But that's where I got started, was all GM trucks.
Which Fords do you own?
I've got two 7.3 OBSs,
nice,
a 6.0, a new Bronco. I've got an F600, a 1960 F600.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You went for a ride in LokJaw. Is the supercharged Duramax enough to bring you back from the Ford dark side?
I mean, if you guys can set me up with that setup, absolutely. We'll come right on back.
So you came out here last year and were hanging out with us, and so you decided to come back. Talk a little bit about what makes Banks special. I know you use Banks products in your builds, and we kind of got to know each other a little bit through some of your builds and things that you're doing. What is it about Banks that has that staying power, and what's the appeal to you?
Well, really, I mean, not to date the company, but as a kid, I mean...
It is 66 years old. I think it's okay to date it.
All of the trucks that you saw growing up, or at least that I saw when I was in high school and made me want to get into trucks, everybody had the Banks emblem on the side. They were all running Banks products. So it was kind of the gold standard. And to see that it's still something that applies to the trucks today, and with walking through the buildings, you see the innovations, you see the 2024 stuff that's going on in there. It's a company that's not going away. It's not fly by night. And then just look at the way the event's put on. Everything that you guys have done, it's top notch. And everything Banks does, it's top notch. The R&D, it's hard to beat the amount of money that's behind the research that goes into this stuff.
You're walking around the buildings. You can eat off the floors in all these buildings.
It is
immaculate.
I have to tell my guy over here not to touch anything.
You want his greasy fingerprints?
Yeah, exactly. There was a few times I thought we're not getting invited back.
What are your favorite products in the Banks lineup? What's your kind of go-to? What do you use a lot for all your builds?
Well, obviously being a 7.3 guy, the intercooler setups, it's kind of a must-have on those trucks,
especially when you're blowing boots and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then with the newer trucks, the Ram Air diff cover, being that I feel like I personally had a hand in the all-black version. They wouldn't call it the DMAX Ryno edition, though. I tried. I mean, it's just to me.
I heard they couldn't afford the licensing of your name. Is that true?
It's free. You guys can still do it. Like just the newer stuff. I mean, the Derringer stuff that's coming out. I have an iDash in pretty much all of my vehicles.
Yeah.
So that the fact that they're still being innovative and it's not just for the older vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of really good products.
Yeah, you mentioned the ram air diff cover. I'm sure you've probably seen the new oil pans with the scoops on them.
I was just looking at those. Yeah.
You're pretty excited about that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. When the ram air diff covers came to be, and throughout that process, all these companies that kind of just said, "Oh, we're going to get more capacity and we're going to put fins on it."
Right.
And Gale approached it and went, no, that's not what we're going to do. We need to see how the fluid dynamics inside the diff work as the diff is spinning. I mean, he made these really cool polycarbonate clear covers so that they could watch it, and then added the cooling aspects on top of it. But they wanted to make sure they got the inside of the cover right, which is, you talk about innovation, nobody did that. You know, I have all these square back covers that just shoot a bunch of oil at the back of it and then aerate, and I've been amazed at how, not only how good that product is, but how fast it caught on with enthusiasts. You see it everywhere now.
Well, and that's kind of what I like about Gale's kind of the way he approaches things. I mean, how long were we told that those square back covers, because they have fins, were better?
Yeah, fins and extra capacity, but that's not always the case.
Right. So him taking what we all thought was true and being like, it's not exactly true.
Let's apply some science.
Yeah, then I kind of like that there's like we'll stick it to you, but let me show you how it actually should have been done from the beginning.
Yeah.
So if I was one of these other companies that had this like snake oil thing, I'd be real worried for Gale to get on there and be like, we're gonna do our version of it that's actually gonna make it better.
You know, it's funny, as Gale, he's kind of like everybody's grandpa in the industry, right? But he's not afraid to call you out. You know, he will take you to task. He'll put the science behind it, and I think that's what helps make banks relevant today. Is it's not just, we need to be in this product category. It's like, how can we redefine this product category and give you something nobody else is giving when you thought there wasn't any more innovation to be had? That's pretty amazing.
Right. And his videos are hilarious. So, I mean, I just like the way he kind of pokes the bear.
Yeah.
Considering, like, he doesn't really get bigger than Banks.
I have so many of my friends.
If he's coming after you.
Did you see that new Banks video? Yeah. Man, Gale, 0 Fs. He's like, he just goes for it.
Exactly.
I love it. So what can we expect to see out of the DMAX Ryno garage?
So we are currently doing an OBS that we're going to be taking to SEMA that we have, what do we have, 12 days?
I think we're close, yeah. I was just talking to Jay a little while ago. I'm like, I should probably figure out where I'm staying when I'm there, because I'm going to be there for 5. So.
We just did that a week ago. So should have booked the hotel before they were quadruple the price.
In case you want to go to SEMA and you don't have a hotel, I did look on Expedia last night, and there are several options under $400 a night. It is going to be an apartment complex, quote unquote Airbnb, but you do get free parking and Wi-Fi, and one of them even had a pool. So
there you go. So we're actually, part of the reason we're up here to celebrate with everybody, but we're also grabbing some parts while we're here.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of days and we got to get them on that OBS probably tomorrow.
Listen, I love UPS, but don't trust them if you got something short. If you need it now, come up here and pick it up.
Exactly.
Well, where can people find you?
DMAX Ryno on pretty much every social media platform.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you supporting the Banks brand. We appreciate you coming out. And if you guys have ever seen DMAX Ryno stuff, or if you haven't, make sure you check it out. This dude right here is super down to earth, just what you see in his videos. Same guy in person. Get a photo with him. Awesome. Appreciate it, brother.
Cool, well, thank you, man.
I think I also saw you on stage with Jeremy Rowell, who is one of the leaders of the Bakersfield Trailblazers group, a really old 4x4 group out of course, Bakersfield, California, and they throw a lot of really good events and raise money. So why don't you hit it?
I've got Jeremy, is it Rowell?
Rowell, yeah.
Rowell, look at that.
You nailed it.
Normally it's Jay that butchers the name, so it's always 50-50 with me. You guys brought some vehicles up?
Yeah, so we have a truck over here, and we have the lone Bronco at the entrance.
All right, so that's with the Bakersfield Trailblazers. So you guys came all the way down from Baco, huh?
All the way from Bakersfield, and no doors on the Bronco at about 6 o'clock this morning.
That was probably perfect.
Yeah, it was great. It was fabulous.
And going home's not going to be that way.
It will be nice going home. I'm looking forward to that drive.
So tell us about your Banks connection.
We're part of the Bakersfield Trailblazers. We're a 4x4 club that was founded in the 50s.
All right.
So we're one of California's oldest and largest 4x4 clubs. And we advocate to keep OHV recreation alive. So we're working at keeping trails open for everybody to go wheeling, for families to explore, go out, go camping. And we have a fundraiser every year called the Prospectors 4x4 Crawl. And Banks has been supporting us for the last few years.
That's awesome.
And helping us raise money. And last year, we raised over $40,000 in our fight to keep trails open. And we get that money and we donate it to Cal 4-Wheel, we donate it to Corva, we donate it to Friends of Oceana Dunes, all places that people go to recreate with their 4-wheel drives.
So do you have members just in the Bakersfield area or members all over the state?
While we're the Bakersfield Trailblazers, we have members in Colorado, we have members in Fresno, we have members all over the place.
What are some of the Banks products that you guys recommend and use for your rigs?
Justin here has tons of Banks products under his hood over there. I've been trying to get something for my Bronco. I saw the...
I know a guy.
Yeah, so, man, if you guys expand in that Bronco category,
I think
the
there's
iGauge
some
on there,
iDash
but-
stuff coming.
As you'll recall, you guys raffled off some pedal monsters at your last
Yes.
big charity event out in the desert.
Yes, absolutely.
And raised some great money for those.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the guys are running pedal monsters in their Broncos and a lot of the Jeep community.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys break into that performance for Broncos, and I'll be the first one in line.
Awesome.
But I know that that truck over there is full of Dodge stuff.
All right, big old Dodge Ram truck over there. Tell me about it.
It's a 2014 Ram 3500 Mega Cab. When I first got it, I was pulling a toy hauler, and I wanted it to work less. So I hit up Jay. All he did is spit the truth. Put everything together, did the Monster Ram air intake, did the delete for the grid heater. You know, don't have to worry about.
Everybody with a Ram, this is a public service announcement. Get the Banks part that removes your grid heater bolt.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
It will fail on you. It will be a $20,000 repair. The cheapest insurance you can get is to get the Banks part.
Took and did the DPF 5-inch system back, did the pedal monster kit, have the cool air intake, and after I did all that work, driving it around, it felt like you dropped the trailer.
Yeah, so what was the difference? I mean, obviously you had a stock truck,
Yeah.
which is a great truck to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
It's got lots of torque, but maybe a little bit power limited, maybe feels a little bit wooden or sluggish on the take-up. Turbo takes a little while to get into the boost. You do all the Banks parts on it. What was it like the first time you actually went and used the truck again?
100% effortless. It just took no effort. The truck felt a lot more healthy, smooth. We'd take and load up the toy hauler and have it completely loaded down, rolling 30,000 pounds plus, pull the Tehachapi grade 70 miles an hour. It does great, man. And the other thing I wanted to say thank you for as well from the Trailblazers is the Truck Show podcast.
Hey!
Truck Show
Thank you.
podcast, they've helped put the word out there. We've made a lot of connections as well and met a lot of new people through that as well. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
we appreciate that. So if you want to find the Truck Show Podcast with Jay and I, that's truckshowpodcast.com. If you want to find the Bakersfield Trailblazers, find out more about an off-road club that's out there is keeping lands open, where can they go?
BakersfieldTrailblazers.com. We have an actual website. You can go on there. If you want to become a member, we have a little process you go through, attend some events, go on some trails with us. We're open to anybody and everybody. Our main thing we've noticed drawing in the last 5 years or so, like seeing more rigs with kids and families in them.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. You're out there, you're just making memories. We really, really have fun seeing the kids, you know, they're growing up out in the dirt, on the
Yeah.
trail. They're not on their phones. They're just living life.
Well, it's awesome. We're walking around or watching people walk around from the stage. There's so many families and kids out here enjoying the day at the Banks Family and Friends event. So glad to have you guys here today. Thank you for supporting the podcast. And we're glad to be able to help support your raffle and
Absolutely.
keep those trails open for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So Sean Moore is a friend of both Holman and I for many, many years, and he's the guy that sold, well, me, LokJaw, before it was LokJaw, but through Holman because Holman gave up the dollar, which you'll hear in a minute. But Sean Moore is going for the air-cooled quarter-mile record in the craziest Volkswagen Bug you've ever seen with the biggest Garrett turbo. I didn't even know they made Garrett turbos this big, but it's freaking nuts.
It's giant, and that Bug is super cool. So anyway, I looked out and I was like, "What? Huh?" And so anyway, figured out he's building a like Ram pre-runner with a utility bed on the back that was like a salvage junker. And so I was like,
he sent me photos of it,
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm going to bring this to your event. I go, why? And he goes, it's a Ram with a 5.9. I go, it's a disaster. And he goes, it won't be when I roll up. And I go, good luck. And he did a full-on SEMA crunch on it for our show. I was like, what's wrong with you?
And he painted the utility box.
Yeah.
Like the night before or something like that. So anyway.
Except I will say this. This is funny. You guys don't talk about it on the audio.
Yeah.
Is that there's the name of the utility box.
You
The
can
whole
still
thing
see?
came white.
Yeah.
They just masking taped right around the logo, and he's like, "Do you have a Banks sticker I can put over this?" I'm like, "What is this? An Earl Scheib 1999 paint job or something?"
Actually.
It was. Yeah.
I said something to him about it being, like a good 10-footer. He goes, that's a good 50-footer. Yeah, you're right.
But actually, from a distance, it looks
good.
really good. Yeah.
Just don't get close. Yeah. All right, go ahead and hit that audio.
All right, so we got Sean Moore up here, and Sean Moore is actually known for being a big-time VW builder, and he's built all sorts of vehicles. But he was actually the one who found LokJaw in its previous state, not the awesome state it is now.
It was glory.
Where did you find it? What's the story of you finding it?
It was sitting against a apartment building in Gardena. Just stumbled across it looking at a Volkswagen.
So it was against an apartment building in Gardena, just
went to
on
look
a
at
side yard?
Went to look at a Volkswagen, and on the far side, that truck was sitting there. I drove around a little bit, sent Jay some pictures, and he said, I need a truck.
Yeah.
I can't be on Truck Show podcast and not have a truck. So I sold to him for $1. There he is.
Actually, I gave him that $1.
I know. I still have it.
I know. Well, have you framed it?
I found it. I lost it. Then I thought my son took it.
So that thing is obviously a lot different than when we at the Truck Show podcast bought it for $1, and Jay donated it to the Banks cause. Obviously, it's been to SEMA, and it's got some crazy stuff behind it. But looking out on the street here, you've got a crazy kind of pre-runner style Ram diesel that has a utility box on it, and you're running a bunch of Banks stuff on that, right?
Yes, everything I could get for Banks for that vehicle I put on it.
So let's talk about it. What did that thing? I heard that thing started as something that was returning to Earth and should have gone to a junkyard.
It should have went to a junkyard because the last 2 weeks have been rough.
You wouldn't know it by looking at it. So
No, it came out all right.
How was it? What have you done to it? And what's the plans for it?
I race a Pro Mod car, so that'll hold all my tools, and I'll throw the car on the trailer and get it to the track and carry everything I need in there.
So it'll be your full mobile service center for your race car.
Correct.
Awesome. Is that the White Beetle?
The White Beetle and a new car that's coming out.
Awesome. Do we know what that car is?
I do, you don't.
Okay. All right. So more to come on that. All right. So tell us what engine is in there, what Banks parts do you have on it, and then did you drive it before the Banks parts, and what kind of difference did they make for you?
I towed it to where I did all the work. It didn't start or run, and then it barely made it here. No, I'm kidding. It made it here. I have the intercooler. I put new injectors, harness, went completely through the engine. Trans is barely hanging in. It needs a lot of work, but we made it for this show.
Well, it looks beautiful, and as soon as you get that thing dialed in, I'm sure it's going to be awesome for servicing your needs at the racetrack.
Or going to Anza.
Or heading out to Anza.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got some common ground there.
It's a 50-footer. It looks good from here.
You know what? This is 100 feet, and it's a 10.
Perfect.
What is it from 5 feet away? I don't know. I don't want to say.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your plans for it? Where is it going to any other shows? What's next for that truck?
I'll just use that for running around, picking up parts, dropping off engines, transmissions.
So that'll be your shop truck.
It's a shop truck.
All right. Make sure you get those Banks stickers on the fenders.
I've got them.
I love it.
We're rolling already. And thank you, Gale.
Thank you, Gale.
All right, and last but not least is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Gale Banks. So Gale came up on stage, and it was really nice because it was a chance to interview him. Obviously, we've had him on the show a bunch of times, but he was really talking to the audience, and these are all of his employees, his family, people that have worked with him for decades, people who've been working with him for 5 minutes, and all these people. I mean, how many people did you have? I estimated
750.
It was 750 people.
Yeah, it was. You couldn't tell because it's a big campus.
I was
right?
thinking it's at least 500.
Yeah,
and
it was actually like 740 and change. But yes,
but I mean, just seeing the sea of people that stopped everything that they were doing to show respect to Gale up on stage, kind of talking to them and sharing his story to them. It was cool. I mean, we've done it before, but it's always great to hear from him. And I love when Gale pontificates a little bit on his past and his history, but also this is a unique perspective because he really talks about some of the people that have worked for him and helped make him successful.
He gets a little sentimental.
He was definitely getting sentimental yesterday.
The one and only Mr. Gale Banks.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
All right, Gale. So what is this, your 66th year?
Yeah, this is my 66th year doing exactly this. Started out down in San Gabriel in 1958.
What do you think about 6.5 decades later? You look out at all these great people, all employees and families and friends of you and the Banks team and the Banks brand. What does this all mean to you?
You know, coming from a two-car garage, the difference between that two-car garage and here is not the buildings. Nothing happens when there's nobody in these buildings. The buildings are not animated, but the people are. To me, it's everybody that's here. And I get to work with a whole bunch of the people that are here. And that is why I'm still here.
So
that's it.
So when you think back on when you started in your two-car garage, making speed parts and working on cars, did you ever imagine it would grow to be this big?
I had no plan. Kept working. Started coming up with racing engines that won. Did a whole lot of boat racing in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Got into diesel early 80, mainly because GMC gave us a couple of trucks to support a Firebird effort we were doing at Bonneville. And those trucks had those 6.2 diesels in them, and they were punk. So we turbocharged them. One of those development engines is in this building. That particular product started the entire diesel aftermarket. We couldn't sell that diesel turbo kit through any SEMA pathway. They didn't understand diesel.
Yeah, they didn't. Diesel wasn't even a thing then.
No, diesel people didn't come into speed shops.
When people call you the godfather of diesel performance, it's literally true. If it weren't for that product, that one moment in time where you had that opportunity, what we have today wouldn't exist in the form that it does.
Well, a whole lot of you folks here are driving diesels. You know, I'm kind of fuel ambivalent. I really don't care what it is. We've run hydrogen programs, top fuel, nitromethane. We've run alcohol in endurance racers, you name it. Natural gas, propane, on and on and on and on. If it goes bang, we screw with it. But that doesn't, I'm going to say something really bad now. It doesn't preclude electricity. And electricity in combination with internal combustion, called hybrid, is something we've been working on since the 2000s. We did the Hybrid 7 program for BMW in 2007. And we also did the Hydrogen 7 program for BMW in the same year. The hydrogen engine, that's not a player. I'm not going to school you all today on why it's not a player. But the hybrid, man, wow, what you can do with hybrid. So we've been doing hybrid over the past 3 years for the Army to repower the Humvee fleet. We've also been doing, you guys probably don't know about this, but in the buildings to my right, that's Banks Tech. In those buildings, there's a new vehicle as of 8 years ago that the Army came out with called the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle. This is a truck bigger than a Humvee. It's got 20 inches of wheel travel. It's an armored trophy truck. You guys are into off-road racing, you know what a trophy truck is. It's the badass version of off-road racing. We participated in the development of this vehicle, and we won the engine business. And as of September of this year, we built 25,000 of those engines right over there.
By people who are standing right here in front of us.
Yes. And the Banks Tech employees, they build perfect engines. The Army tells me the last thing we worry about is the Banks engines.
Definitely a testament to all of you out here who contribute your time and your skill set toward making this a great brand. I had a friend who was looking for a truck the other day in the a used truck.
Yes.
And he was sending me basically listings. And the ones that were at the top were the ones that had the Banks logo on the fender, had the sticker on it, and the under hood picture. And you're talking trucks that are 20 plus years old.
Yes.
And there's still a desirability that makes it better if it has Banks products. And the fact that Banks is still relevant today with all the competition, all the changes, all the regulations, everything that's happened throughout the decades you've been around is a testament to you and your people and your brand that people still want Banks, maybe even more today than they did back then. And that's an amazing run for a family-owned business. It just doesn't happen today.
Yeah, and there are multiple generations of Banks working here, but there's multiple generations of folks working here. One thing I learned early on, as I started the business, everybody was my age, and then you go 20 years in, there's young folks. You just have to do that. And the beauty of it, and I'll say that right up to this day, the beauty of having multiple generations of people working with you is you sit down and you start brainstorming a new product, and the young folks will say stuff that I wouldn't even consider at my age. They'll shock the living hell out of me and make me consider new thoughts, new things. So having young folks, having multiple generations in a 66-year-old business is one of the reasons we're still here. And it's my quest to have legendary products that wear well, but also I bought old man Nordstrom's book years ago, decades ago now, on customer service. We want to have legendary customer service. We want to be the best in our industry. So, and there's folks working here who really are great, answering the phone, talking with folks, and resolving issues to their satisfaction. Many times it's not to our satisfaction. That doesn't matter. What matters is that they tell people about that experience. And I got to tell you, good product, that's not the rarity. Really good customer service, that's really rare.
Especially in these days where a lot of that is outsourced. It's not the same people working with the brand day in and day out.
Well, our customer service people actually work here.
And they're real people.
Yes.
when you,
there'll be no AI.
When you look out on this campus and this crowd, and you look back on over 6 decades of being a business owner, what are you most proud of from where you started to where you are today? Is there anything that shocks you, that surprises you, something you look back and said, there's this one thing that we did really well and we do it today, and I'm going to go away at some point thinking this is the pinnacle of everything. This is what I'm most proud of.
Well, yeah. We don't have a lot of racing vehicles here right now. But if you take a new engine design or a new supercharger, a new turbocharger, whatever, and you want to implement it, the best way to develop it is racing. And when we go racing, and it doesn't matter if it's marine, drag racing, off-road, Pikes Peak, most every racing venture we've ever done had a secret customer. Like we went to Pikes Peak because the U.S. Navy, what I call the dirt Navy, the SEALs, were in Afghanistan, and the Humvees, the up-armored Humvees, didn't do well at 14,000 feet of altitude. So they shipped us a number of their Humvees and asked us to make them work at high altitude, which we did. But we tested the turbocharging solution on an open-wheel car at Pikes Peak. And that test vehicle qualified #1 on the mountain. Yeah.
It's amazing
yeah.
The amount of history, if these walls could talk here, the different programs, the different racing disciplines, both consumer, military. I mean, you've really dabbled in all of it, and it's awesome to see the business as vibrant, as successful as ever right now, and it's all because of the people in front of us.
Yeah, people talk about, hey, you should write a book, and I go, who'd buy it? Yeah, okay, we've got a buyer.
You get the first copy.
I'm not trying to sell
Sign.
a book, and I probably will never do a book. But my book is all the younger folks I get to break in and work with, and it's so rewarding and so wonderful. That's my book. There's this saying, and I think it's very true. When an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. Not with me. I'm lending out those books before the library burns.
Well, and we all know you're going to be coming here when you're 130. So it's, can we give it up for Mr. Gale Banks?
All right, what do you say we do a little voicemail?
Sure, 657-205-6105. It is the 5-star hotline.
Oh, come on and be part of the show. Call the 5-star hotline. 657-205-6105. It's the 5-star hotline. 5-star hotline.
Lightning and Whole Dog. Colby here calling again.
Do we like Whole Dog?
I mean, that's not as good or bad as other ones.
You know, I just had a quick, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but when did trucks become not trucks? Like, we have all these vehicles that can go fast and jump over giant berms, and you can launch them in the air. They have great suspension, but you, like, lean on them, and they get a giant dent in the side. Like, why can't we have trucks that have, like, actual metal on them anymore? My work truck, you flip a little rock up and it was a big old ding underneath the cab. You know, then I have my 87 Suburban that I have literally drug deer across the hood, and you can't tell. Like, I've walked on my hood of my Suburban, and you can't tell. But you, like, look at the side of a new Chevy Fender, and it dents and dings and caves in. I don't know. Like, can we not just get, like, a truck that drives good and also doesn't dent every 5 seconds? Anyway, maybe a little bit of a rant in the question, but what's your thoughts? Are we going the wrong way with these quote-unquote, you know, trucks? Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. 5 stars.
5-star review! 5 stars!
It's real simple. The government got involved and said that trucks need to be lighter and more efficient, and so they kept the frames heavy to do the work and made the bodies lighter and the metal lighter to keep the weight down. And on top of that, the Honda Ridgeline came into the world.
What do you mean? Why did that change everything?
Because it's a unibody, and you can't launch it off stuff. I mean, I guess you could. Probably wouldn't end up well.
Yeah. I just think that as the towing needed to go up, the weight of the vehicle, like you said, had to go down. And where can you trim? If you trim the frame, you can't tow. So it's got to come in the body. There's your aluminum.
There you go.
Yeah. 657-205-6105 is the 5-star hotline, and it is still the original outgoing voicemail that Holman and I recorded in 19? Something like that? No. Oh, my God.
17?
17.
It's
just like, hey, it's our new phone line.
Yeah.
And we thought about changing it, and then we go, no, it's funny now. It's like it's come full circle to where it's been out for so long that it's funny that we say it's new. It's like the radio station LA 98.7, like the new alternative. Like, you've been around since like 2014. There's nothing new about your station, Broseph.
So the hotline isn't exactly new, guys. It's been around for a few years now. I swear. It really has. I'm going to let that sink in for just a second.
We get it. Steven, we get it.
Okay, so here's the deal. We went to record a new intro, and we went, oh, the other one's still funny. And then we got lazy
We
and
just
didn't
left
do
it.
So this is Stephen Watson. Quick question. Actually, it's just a request. Holman, you need to talk about widths of vehicles because you're calling out this Bronco Raptor being huge at like 70-something inches, 74, I forget what you said, but I think you're probably talking center of tire widths, which I don't feel like is really relevant in the real world. We always measure our stuff outside.
Is that true?
I actually don't know where they measure it. The Bronco is, the Raptor is like 85 inches, but it might be the mirrors.
Let's keep listening.
Yeah.
And like all of our wheel and rigs on 40s end up somewhere around 85, 84, 85, 86 inches. Anyway, maybe you could translate that into something that actually means something, you know, wheel face width versus center of tire width versus outside to outside, you know, how all of those things interact and maybe correlate how big that Bronco really is compared to some full-size truck stuff. So anyway, there's something for you to have fun with for a little while. Have a good day.
You know what, Stephen, thank you for the call, because that is good. Because, Holman, when you told me the width of the TRX, I listened to it, it processed, and then I shunted it to ground because I'm like, it didn't sound right to me when you gave me the width of the TRX, because I feel like it's over 80 inches. My dually that I had years ago, lifted dually, twin 37s on the back, well, 4 37s on the back, it was 88 inches wide. I think a California lane in traffic it's like 110, 111. So it's like I had so little room on either side of me.
Well, it's 88.
88 is what?
Your TRX.
Okay, that is. It's 88. It's 88.
That's without mirrors. So I'm assuming that's not center width. I believe that's the outside of the tire face.
If I have stock tires.
Right.
And I've gone up to 12.5 wide
I don't know what
on
yours
my 37, so I'm probably at 91.
Maybe, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, and just for Steven's comment here, the Bronco Raptor is, without mirrors, is 85.7. So yeah, it's wide. It's within 3 inches of a TRX. I believe the track width, which is 73 and 70, I guess 73.2 and 73.6. I believe track width is center line, but when we're talking about overall vehicle width, it's either whatever sticks out more, the fender or the wheel face. So keep on that, 88 for a TRX, 85.7 for a Bronco Raptor. So going to the F-150 Raptor, according to Ford, if you look at the width on that particular vehicle, it is, excluding mirrors, 86.6.
Oh, geez.
So it's just under your TRX.
Dang, these things are wide.
And the track width on that is 74 front and 73.6 rear. So, yeah, I think when we're talking track width, we're talking about center line of the wheels and tires. But when we're talking about overall width, you're going to whatever sticking. And that's without mirrors. Mirrors obviously will skew it, so let's pretend that doesn't exist. So it's either the flare or the wheel face.
What's the legal limit of width, federally or state? Or is there not a federal? I don't know.
No, it's 80-something. But once you're over, I think it's in – Steven probably knows this, 78 or 80, that's when you need the clearance lights. So what's funny is when Raptor came out, it was as wide as a dually, essentially. So they were required by law, because it was so wide, to do the 3 in the center and the outboard lights. That has since become a styling thing, and you see a lot of guys with Toyotas and stuff, a 4Runner, ooh, I've got my 3 lights in here because I want to be at the Raptor, but the Raptor does it because it's actually required by law. And one of the things that was really interesting when Raptor came out is Ford said, we looked over the rule book, because if you notice, it doesn't have cab lights on it. They're in the grille.
True.
Same with the TRX. And the clearance lights are in the lower parts of the fenders. And so Ford said that they had scoured the DOT rule book, and nowhere did it say anything about placement or height, because they didn't want to have clearance lights on the cab to ruin the looks of the Raptor.
Sure.
So they put them in the grille and I guess got it approved.
Were they the first to do that?
Yes. So if you look at, I think the Raptor on the Chismel, the center high mount stop lamp, and then the light for the bed, the 3 center ones are in that.
Above your rear window.
Above your rear window, but on the TRX, they're down below the tailgate.
Correct. Yeah, kind of hidden.
Yeah.
If you don't know they're there, it's above the bumper and below the. Some guys put like the aftermarket ones in there, but the TRX already has it. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, fun little discussion there.
I like
5-star.
5-star hotline. It is the 5-star hotline, 657-205-6105.
Howdy, guys from Arkansas. It's Chris with the Hummer again, the little H3. So I got it home from Florida and have been working on it basically nonstop. Had to replace the vent lines off the transmission. The exhaust flange gasket was missing from whoever put the transmission in. We replaced both front axles, diff seals, the front CV shaft for the drive shaft seal. But so far, I'm really liking it. Suspension-wise, I ended up having to go with Skyjacker 7000 series shocks. They're much better than what was on there, leaking everywhere, but, they're definitely not Bill Steins or, Fox shocks or anything like that. But I really do enjoy the truck, liking the locker. Been exploring a lot of the Ouachita National Forest and the Ozark National Forest up here. The Toyota guys have been very friendly to allow me to tag along, and I appreciate that. One word of advice for anyone that has an H3 Hummer: do not get the Duralast axles from AutoZone. They lasted less than 5 minutes into the trail. So go OE if you're getting those. But anyway, thanks for the help, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully more updates to come in as I continue to build the truck. Those were just the parts I fixed. I've added rock sliders. I've added a snorkel. I've added a high-lift jack mount, a high-lift jack. We're getting the build done. Love the podcast. Thank y'all a lot. And 5 stars as always. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We appreciate the follow-up. If you remember, he had sent in, I think, a email about when he got the truck. So awesome to hear it. We love hearing about you guys' builds and what you're up against and what's working and what's not.
657-205-6105. By the way, if I'm talking too fast, you're like, slow down, Lightning, can't understand what you're saying. Go to our Instagram, click on the profile, and you'll find our number right there.
5-star review! 5-star!
And thank you for the 5-star review. Please leave us a 5-star review. We would definitely appreciate it. If you want to do it over at Spotify, you want to do it at Apple, either one is great with us. We're trying to get the word out and grow the show beyond its already gigantic listenership. Yes.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
All right, don't forget to hit us up on our email, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com or lightning@truckshowpodcast.com or Holman @truckshowpodcast.com. And also on social @truckshowpodcast, @LBC Lighting, @Sean P. Holman, and of course, don't forget the website, truckshowpodcast.com, where you can check out upcoming events, featured products and deals, and you can also find the podcast through there as well if you're looking for a place to listen to it.
Some of you are already planning next year's events, 2025 events. So if you have those or you know someone who's building a 2025 event, please send it to me, lightning@truckshowpodcast, or the general email inbox, whatever. I'll get it up on there, and we'll get a head start on next year. I also have a kind of a question for you. So weeks back before I did my Ballard video that went viral, I had like 500 YouTube subscribers. Well, today I have just shy of 60,000.
Wow, you should do something with that.
And that's exactly what I'm asking. What would you guys like to see? I've actually got a few ideas that I think you'll be interested in. I tried, mostly automotive content is doing the best for me so far. I did something that wasn't automotive content, and it just it didn't do well. So I think it's going to be pretty much automotive related. And if there's something you'd like to see from me, is it TRX related? Is it LokJaw related? Is it me interviewing Holman? Is it something completely different? Let me know, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com.
Thank you, Nissan, for presenting the Truck Show podcast, and also our friends over at AMSOIL, at Banks, at EGR. And we've got a little something for you here. So we'll end the show with Lightning pressing play.
All right, I'm finally in LokJaw. The vehicle that I paid $1 for, that Jay took all the credit for and then gave to Banks. So I'm with Mr. Eric inside LokJaw. He's pushing buttons right now. What are you doing? Are you pumping up our air suspension?
Yes, sir. We're getting this thing so we can actually make it out of the driveway without scraping the bumper off.
Pump up the jam. Pump it up. Check it out. So I'm literally sitting here, and it's funny when you walk in, it's like the easiest car to ever walk in ever because the door's open and it's body dropped. And then you look out the hood, all I see are tool marks on the machined supercharger head. Is that a 5-inch pipe feeding the superchargers?
That's 2 5-inch pipes feeding the supercharger for a total of 10 inches.
It's so tall I can only see my side, so... So I've never ridden in LokJaw before, even though I bought this freaking car. This truck, I paid the $1 for this truck. I have never sat in it before. This is literally the first time ever.
This is the best $1 ride I think you can get.
Listen, if you give me any sort of thrill, it will be worth the $1.
I think we can make that happen.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Is that the first time you've said that?
Can you give me $1 worth of thrill?
I think I can give you $1 worth of thrill.
All right, so in front of me, I have this glove box, and when you open it up, it's full of Motec computers. And I'm looking out over, I guess, the power steering reservoir, and there's some sort, is that the blow-off? What is that giant 3-inch pipe that terminates into the atmosphere?
Yes, that is a bypass, As a diesel with a supercharger that's driven off the crank and lower revs than what it was initially made for, you got to overdrive it. And that meant we were making 14 PSI a boost at idle.
All right, so let me ask this. LokJaw was put together, right? And It got running. And my man Jay here took it to a couple shows, and he revved it so much at idle that he sheared the keyway off of something and completely destroyed the engine. Is that true?
That may or may not be true.
Okay, so then it got fixed, and then it goes to a shop. I'm not naming the shop. I know you're listening. I'm sorry. It goes to the shop, and maybe some stuff was dry, and there may be some contamination, and everything got back together, and it blew up again.
We may or may not have locked up the rear end. You know, we went for quite a wild ride that day.
All right, so here we are. This is 3 times as the charm. The diff is rebuilt. Everything's shiny. The engine runs. I actually heard. Okay, so I'm up emceeing up on stage, and Jay's like, "Fire in the hole! Oh, fire in the hole!" And he's plugging his ear holes. And you fired it up. I'm like, that wasn't that loud. It was like way better. And then you took off down the street. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Oh yeah. We're ready for this ride. We got fluids and everything.
Oh, that's good. Fluids are good. So we've learned our lesson.
Yes,
I see.
we have.
All right, and so talk me through. For people who don't know, LokJaw is a 66 big window Chevy 2500 long bed.
Yep.
And you guys stuck a crazy supercharged DMAX because it was part of testing and promotion of a potential engine line that you guys were thinking about doing, so you wanted to show it off. You've got all sorts of crazy doodads, machined everything. It's body dropped. It's on bags. The bed is split in half, so the top half of the bed completely lifts off to reveal the rear suspension. It's a roadster shop chassis. Like, this thing has gone full freaking SEMA, and it's been at SEMA, but it was in various states of undress or repair.
Yes.
The version I'm sitting in now works.
Yes, this is the best version so far. We are ready to give this thing a rip.
If there's anything that you should take away from this, is that building trucks is hard.
Yes. I was very surprised quite how many issues that we came into, but
all of them, by the way.
All of the issues.
All right, I love the Spark steering wheel. That was done special. And then the Kibby Tech has the rear brake like vertical lever for drifting. And then you've got this whole center console. So you got a couple of cup holders, so that's good. But you have the air control. You've got start, engine, ignition, all that stuff. You've got vintage air in here.
Yep.
All right.
EGR controller for the transmission.
One last question before you break my my cherry with your LokJaw nut, and that is, why is there a rubber chicken that is zip tied on the dashboard?
So this goes back farther than I've been here, but it's kind of like a good luck charm for new builds with here at Gale Banks Engineering, and we need all the luck we can get in this vehicle. We really do.
So a rubber chicken with a zip tie, hog tied on your dash is good luck.
We call that the super chicken.
Okay.
And it's made it this far, and that's farther than it's ever been. So we're going to keep him there, because so far he's a good luck charm.
All right, let's fire this thing up.
Let's do this thing, man.
All right, well, walk me through. So you hit the ignition button.
We go ignition. We got accessory power. You see our eye dashes and our Motec
so
light up.
4 eye dashes and what, an 8-inch Motec display, something like that?
Yes.
And then you got all the goods. I mean, throughout those 8 gauges, which each have 8 parameters, so 8 times 8, 64.
Yep.
Plus you've got the Motec stuff.
Yep.
So this thing is throwing all sorts of data at you, like unbelievable, right?
Yes. It's almost hard to keep your eyes on the road with how many numbers are moving in front of your face.
Well, you're engineer minded, so you like seeing the data, right?
I do, but it's also really important to see what's in front of you.
Well, how are you going to do that with this giant supercharger right in your visual path?
Luckily, we got our Banks polarized sunglasses to help with that glare, but that eye candy can kind of get in the way sometimes, but it's a beautiful way of getting blinded, I will say.
Can I push the button to start it?
Absolutely. So we're going to hit ignition one more time.
All right, so ignition, it's going to light up. Everything turns green.
Yep, we can hear our fuel pump running.
Oh, I'm going to start up LokJaw for the first time.
All right, press start, give her a go.
Here we go. So what's hilarious, and it's loud.
Very loud.
But behind me I hear engine, and in front of me I hear supercharger whine, and they're physically fighting with each other for what I hear more of.
Oh yeah, you get quite the spectrum as you walk around this vehicle. It sounds quite wild at any point of where you're at. It's ridiculous.
All right, and you've got a push-button transmission panel here on the dash.
Yep, PCS transmission controller. It's working great, and it makes it quite easy. We don't need any column shifter.
Do you have a horn? Because Jay's looking into the engine compartment. I want to honk at him and scare him.
Unfortunately, of all the things that work, that's not one of them.
Damn it.
We can scare them in other ways.
All right, I like it. I'm ready for my first ride in LokJaw.
All right, you want to throw on the headset so we can actually hear each other?
All right, so there are literally headsets inside LokJaw so that you can conversate with each other.
Testing.
All right, I can hear you.
All right.
There we go.
Perfect. And if you need to adjust volume at all, you have it on the side, on the left side of your headset.
All right, you guys can probably barely hear me, but we're plugged into the headsets. And Eric is about to give me a ride in the truck I bought for $1.
Yes, sir. Let's get that $1 ride along on the way.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right, so you just pushed it in drive, and now we're going down the Banks driveway.
Bank system to allow us to get out of here without any issues, and we'll let the turning radius hinder us just slightly.
So I remember when Jay decided to go bagged, I'm like, what's the turning radius going to be? He's like, it just needs to sit at SEMA, dude.
Well, we're not at SEMA anymore. We're trying to have some fun, so it's all right. We can make any 5-point turn we need. We'll make it happen. Before you feel the torque and the sound of this thing going crazy. It's something else, like nothing else I've ever heard in my life. I think this thing itself might need a pedal monster. It's already on track mode.
It actually rides pretty decent considering it's on air.
Yeah, this is one of the first full air systems I've been in personally, and I was very impressed with how well it rides. The ride tech and that whole system, they did a great job. It rides great. As well as the roadster shop suspension. It handles great for a 66 truck, I'll tell you that.
It's so funny because it's a diesel, so like the red line is like 3,500 or something, and it just kicks you right in the nuts and then shifts, and then kicks you right in the nuts again.
Yeah, right when you think it's just gonna start, tearing through the RPMs, it's like, that's all we got, buddy. Or it's time to shift. Like every time it shifts, there's just another round of torque right behind it, and it pulls hard.
All right, I'm gonna stick it out the window.
Experience you get out of this truck, it's like nothing I've ever experienced.
It's weird. It's very freight train like it makes a lot of power in a very short amount of time, and then shifts really quick and then does it again.
Yeah, and the throttle response is ridiculous. As soon as you put your pedal down, it is ready to go. It's awesome.
And I love hearing that supercharger blow off when you lift it, and you hear.
I know, it almost sounds.
It reminds you like a JDM, like Japanese car or something with a turbo boost blow off.
Or it almost sounds like a centrifugal supercharger, but I mean, it sounds amazing. It's pretty unique to have that on a twin screw supercharger. So
it's funny when you're looking at it over the hood, which is not here right now. It's all engine. What it looks. Yeah, it looks like like the breastplate of like a ribbed skeleton with his really thick bony arms out, and it's like, and you can actually, I'm sitting here and I can watch the supercharger pulley spinning.
Yeah, it's one of those small fun things that never gets old to see that.
Yeah, this thing's pretty cool. I remember what a pile it was when we bought it with the 350 like 1988 Mr. Goodwrench like crate engine in it that probably made all of about 205 horsepower, and to see where it is today, like it warms my heart. Obviously this started as kind of a gimmick on the podcast.
What the transformation was right when I started is when we started tearing this thing apart, and man, drilling out 200 spot welds and a lot of fabrication later, and we got quite the different truck on our hands. Quite the experience.
All right, I'm just gonna let you listen to the sounds of LokJaw.
luckily we got Willwood brakes to stop us quite well.
Yeah, so the Willwood brakes, you can feel it right there, and it's crazy how quiet it gets when you're off the throttle. Like, it just, everything kind of like gets really serene.
Yeah, when you're on throttle, man, you feel every vibration that engine makes, and it's extremely visceral. As soon as you let off throttle, it's like a breath of fresh air.
If you've ever sat in like an old school bus where the seats were torn and the spring was up your ass, like, it's real similar to that.
Yes, it is. You got nothing dampening that vibration from everything in this vehicle. Absolutely.
Every time you feel the school bus driver shift, you knew it.
Oh yeah, and this thing does not let you pass up the fact that it just shifts. It shifts aggressive.
It's kind of crazy though, like as we're driving, it's pretty smooth when you're not on the throttle and you're just cruising. Like it's not crazy.
You can cruise it quite well. I mean, I'm very impressed with the suspension setup on this and how well the engine does at low speeds. You know, you can cruise it all day long and it loves it. It's got no issues. And whenever you need to, you put your pedal down and you got all.
Yeah, that actually doesn't get old, by the way.
It does not. I drove this for about 45 minutes for some testing this morning, and they had to pry me out of here. I did not want to get out.
Man, Jay messed up.
Yeah, he really messed up. I know if I were him, I'd be a little sad knowing that this could have been mine.
Could have, would have, should have.
Yeah.
You know, the story that I don't know if I have told on the podcast, I probably have, but I actually told him, I go, don't go full SEMA. Just make it a driver, enjoy it. And he went full SEMA, and now it's no longer his.
We have a problem here at Banks. Everything's got to go to 110%, and there was no exceptions with this one. This one might even be 115. All right, we'll do one more lap. I'll give you one more good rip.
All right, here we go. One more lap, one more good rip. Why do one more when you can do one too many?
Yeah, we have that problem. But I'm also the guy who has to fix it, so I know my limit.
There's a couple literally sitting in the lawn in this industrial park, and they're just like hanging out. And they've waited, though. They're sitting in the grass on this like little grassy knoll outside whatever building. And they literally have waited for us to go by every time. And they're giving us like the rock on, you know, hang loose sign every time we roll by. I freaking love it.
Heck, I work here and I still do that.
All right, well, thank you for the ride. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this has been a long time coming because I think it's been 5 years or something in the making for me to just get this ride in this truck.
Oh yeah, it's been several years of just getting the consistency dialed in with this truck. So I mean, I'm ecstatic right now being able to take you on a ride and do laps around this area.
Well, it's funny because I told Jay, I'm like, dude, like I want to ride. When he's like, yeah, it doesn't run. I broke it.
Yeah. Jay's pretty good at that. We also have several other people here who are pretty good at that. And while we're good at fixing things, they're almost better at breaking it.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.